What is going on, everyone? My name is Northy, and today I have myself the round 11 team coach review. This week, lots of interesting battles here that I don't think anyone could have expected. The only person who I think has expected this to happen is a person under the name Dingo Pup on the channel, who somehow predicted that there'd be this or a lot of crazy results or upsets. I do not know how to explain how this weekend went. But wow, what an entertaining weekend for sure, and I am super keen to see how we did this week, because with what I remember, things should be looking okay. There were no prize cards, unfortunately, but I'm hopeful that we can see some nice results. That's our big aim here today, and I think we've got the chance to really see some good ones. So, first off, we'll of course start with our star powers. This one, always going to be really tough for me. I'm going to have to make some changes for sure next week, but there's a few things here and there that I was pretty happy with. So we'll go through the ladder first. You can see rank 152, fantasy points 525. We made it over the 500 mark, which I am not mad at whatsoever. We will definitely be taking that one, but I'm just hopeful that maybe we can see a top 100 rank very soon. It's just very hard to crack into these ones because everyone's on the same kind of level, and so there's a very good chance that in order to get yourself into the top 10 of this game mode, you have to pretty much be bang on with every single one. But one I want to look at first, sharpshooters. Charlie Cameron has to go. It just has to happen now. You can see he was third out of all of the silvers, but that's just because this was a horrible week for sharpshooters. The only ones who did well were Hogan and Kerno. The only two that I can see right now. There's probably some cards that I don't have yet that I'm forgetting, but Cameron, 4 goals is great for him, but only 8 disposals and the 1 mark. That's what's ruining him. That's what ruins Cameron, is just these no marks or hardly any marks and low disposals. So I'm definitely going to be making a change next week. Chances are it's going to go to Kerno. I'm just going to go off the top of my head and say Kerno, because although he is one of those main forwards, he takes a lot of marks. He's been getting more involved on the ball. You can see he 18 disposals as a key forward. Amazing. Also had 11 marks. Really good. With only the 1 goal. Could have potentially had more and made it a bit better of an effort for the boys, but no, unfortunately not. Still played better than Cameron. Much better. So Cameron, I'm sorry. That was your last week and you didn't prove it to me. You kicked 4 goals and still didn't manage to prove to me that you deserve to stay in this team. So, sorry mate, you're going to have to see the bench next week. But next ones I want to check. Nick Dacos had a good game. 116. Tied in a 3-way tie with Petraka and Bontempelli as well for 116. For the week. Really good there. Dacos coming back. It was against North Melbourne. I did mention that would be the case, but really good to see him doing well. Then we go over here. Rory Laird, 130. Beautiful. Another great week. Sicily topped it, which, I mean, fair enough. 43 disposals, 16 marks, and 4 1%ers. Just a cheeky 165-point week. That's all right. Yeah, overall, these two smashed it this week. Very happy with that. Then we go over here. Chad Warner, 100 points. Didn't end up being the best one. A bit unfortunate in that sense, but it's still not a bad week at all. 105 points. We are happy with that. Then we go over to Epic. 108 points. Really good. Nice to see Sam Doherty getting some points in there. And so the reason why I'm so disappointed with this 152 result is because realistically we just needed to put Kerno in. Put Kerno in and we give ourselves an extra, I think, 44 points. Add 44 on top of this one, and yep, we would have cracked top 10. So you can see why I'm a little disappointed with Charlie Cameron right now. Just needed the one change, and we would have cracked that top 10. Instead, we're outside the top 150. Which is crazy. But overall, other than that, some really good picks. I'm happy in general with the way that the week has gone in terms of silver star powers. But we go over to Ultra. This is where things get a little interesting. So Tom Green ended up having a really good week. Nice to see him get his double points. Like I mentioned though before, he was not the best young gun, and I'm still not sure why it's the case, but for some reason, these guys aren't showing up in my Ultra Star powers, which is interesting, but it's okay. Tom Green still getting the double points. Happy with that one. We've already talked about Cameron, and Doherty was good as well. Noah Anderson, another okay week. Ended up being better than Parker, which was good. Thank God we stuck onto that. And he got the double points as well. And then our next double points player, Tim Kelly, again, sticking around 90. James Sicily nearly beat him double for a 90-point week. That is unreal. That is ridiculous. But overall, the picks could have been better. The only pick, again, that I changed throughout the week is Charlie Cameron. He's the only one I changed. It's a bit disappointing the way that it had turned out to finish this week off. And you can see here, we got 111 this week. People cracking 1,000 is crazy. 1,000. Must have been double points Sicily, maybe, or double points Laird. they would have had double points. Dacos, Bonts, Petraka maybe, sharpshooters, they could have had someone. They could have really had anyone in that sense. Warner, Green, Day, Scott, any of those double pointers. Maybe even some double pointers over here. You see Toby Green. He didn't show up on the other one for some reason. He had himself a crazy week as well. 120, that was awesome. Loads of crazy good performances this week from certain players. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't even crack 100 for either game mode. I don't know how we managed to get that much of a disappointing result, especially with Silver Star powers, man. We did so well outside of one player, and it got us in 152. That's really disappointing, really disappointing, but oh well, what can you do? We just gotta keep moving forward and it'll be okay. Next one, we go over to Top Team, and Top Team was exciting as this week. I was so keen. Putting in James Sicily was the best result. James Sicily 165. Dacos himself had a good week. So even if we stuck with him again, it would have been okay, but we made the choice to switch to Sicily. Got us 165. We took advantage of that for the top 4, which is really important if you want good results in top 4. You have to pick right, and that's why it's so tough. Zach Merritt was our midfield pick. Not a bad pick. It definitely could have been worse. My reasoning behind it, Essendon were up against West Coast, and West Coast obviously having rough form. You'd think that players like Zach Merritt would get their points in, and he did. For his credit, he did. Although we did think about putting Laird in, I was a little sketch with Rory Laird because I know that he's had some down weeks as of late, but he ended up coming second for the midfield behind Tim Taranto. So very interesting there. Ruckman, English having a down week, a rare down week for the big man. So Jared Witts takes top spot, and then Curvis, McInerney, and O'Brien. So some pretty usual ones from last year finding their way to the top this week. With Tim English, the one who's been killing it all year so far, he ended up having the down week as they lost to Gold Coast, funny enough, as Jared Witts takes spot number 1. So Witts just comfortably beating English there. But then we go to the forward line. Errol Gordon with 101. He's a pretty safe forward option, but you can see here some better ones in DeGoey, Dylan Moore, Nick Green, Toby Green. Oh, I said Nick Green, Nick Martin even. 2 Giants players in here, which is crazy to think considering they play Geelong. Makes no sense in my head. But Errol Gordon getting 101. A somewhat safe option gives us rank 34. Really close, and it's annoying that we couldn't quite get there. 472 points is 16 off of rank 10, so realistically a change that we could have made would simply be Merritt with Laird, and we would have been able to get it. If we had stuck with Laird, we would have gotten ourselves a spot. If we had gone with a different ruckman, which I don't think many people would have if they had been going with Tim English so much. And then Errol Gordon is a safe option, but DeGoey I know I've picked before. Martin would have been a smart pick because I did make that pick elsewhere, as I will show you now in top 18. But top 4, really good. Getting top 50 is good for that one, just off a prize card in there. Then we go to top 18, as I mentioned. This one is going to be really interesting to look back on. So, some players you will see. Nick Martin was in there. Really proud of myself for picking that one up, as he got himself 124 points and ended up being our best forward player. Our forward smashed it this week. I'm already looking at this. And DeGoey could have been in there too if I had switched him out. Man, it's just those small things that you always wish you could take back. Zeeble ended up being the worst performer for the week, but again, one of the safest options in forward because he's actually a backman, as Larky actually performed as well as he did with 5 goals. Good to see the actual North forwards doing well there, but Nick Martin winning it for our team with 124, then Kerno with 110, Bolton with 103, Gordon 101, Cameron 94, back to form, Jeremy Cameron. Yeah, again, DeGoey would have been one that I chucked in. I'm not sure who for. Maybe it would have been Cameron, considering Kerno's been getting a lot of points. So if we'd made that change, could have gotten some extra ones there. I'm going to go to the backline next because backline's super interesting this week. Look at this again. Sicily and Dawson, we had both of them to take both the top 2 players for the backline. Dacos in there as well. Doherty, Dave, and having a great game. And then Sinclair again going back down. It's really unfortunate to see that as they lose to Hawthorn. It's really unfortunate to see Sinclair having that struggle week that he did a couple weeks prior. Last week he performed really well, but yeah, back down to his usual form. It's really unfortunate to see that for him. Could be the difference to whether we get a prize card or not. But now we go to the midfield. We chucked in Butters this week as a little bit of a change. He did get himself 100 points, so at least there's that. But you can see here, chucked in Bonds, ended up being a good pick. Walsh, Merritt, Green, Butters, and I think we are safe from the rest, which is good. But you see the ones that we usually pick. Laird, we could have picked and put in Laird. I may have taken him out before this week as well. He ended up being the second best performer this week. Really annoying that we took him out. But nonetheless, it is a all-round strong performance, but not strong enough. Just sneaking inside the top 50. But you can see top 10 are all over 2 grand. Everyone in the top 20 is over 2,000 points. Really, really tough week to crack the top 20. And although we were so close, we are just outside. That's so disappointing to see. A few changes here and there could have maybe fixed that up. All I can think of is if we'd switched out Butters for Laird maybe, and then the back line. I wouldn't have even made too many changes for the back line. Stewart had his good week. He's been a bit under the radar this year considering how popular he was. Whitfield is making a case to join my team again, and I don't know how I feel about that. He may have to make a switch up sooner rather than later, and I don't know what to do with the forward line. I think Martin will be out. I think I'll take out Nick Martin and switch him out with potentially a player who's coming up against a weaker team. We'll have to see, and, you know, obviously changes will come, but this week was, like, both positive, but somewhat disappointing, because this week definitely could have been the one where we got ourselves that first prize card, and we just missed out on it. And it's really annoying that that's the case. That's okay. We've got next week, and overall, a really, really good week in terms of the top team and star powers game. But next up, this is what I'm really keen to look at. The tips for the week, man. Round 11, 3 out of 9. But to be honest, I don't think I'm that far off. I feel like a lot of people are around my range this week. So, first off, Carlton v Sydney. This one probably was the worst pick out of them all. Carlton, probably not good enough to beat Sydney at the SCG at the rate they're going at right now, as they lose by 26 to them. Really disappointing season so far for Carlton. I'm sure after last year they thought that they should have made finals and that this year would be the year they do so, but it looks like they've got their sophomore slump. I feel like last year was their year where they started to find their potential. This year, the second year of that maybe window that they're looking at, having a bit of a slump. I feel like next year they could potentially come back with a bit of firepower, but just something about them this year, man. It's really weird to watch and a bit disappointing. A bit disappointing to say the very least. But next up, we've got Saints versus Hawthorn. Crazy performance from Hawthorn. I remember people saying that they were tanking, and then they go on a mean to take Hilda. Not a very good year to tank then. Clearly, they're not feeling like tanking too much. Melbourne versus Fremantle. Fremantle, what is going on? All of a sudden, they've clicked into their potential. They've gone from losing to North to beating Melbourne. God, that makes me so excited for North. But lo and behold, you know, North not having the greatest season. But that's a crazy result there. This one, Geelong losing to GWS at Geelong? What is that? Such a weird performance there. Really, really strange. Yeah, when I saw the final result of that, I'm like, that is crazy. Crazy impressive even for GWS. And then next up, Gold Coast beating the Dogs. The Dogs on a winning streak. Not anymore. Gold Coast says, no, we'll have our random game where we show all the signs of potential. So there's Gold Coast doing their thing. Then we go over. Finally, an expected result. We've got ourselves West Coast losing to Essendon by 50. Probably the first expected result of the week. Takes us 6 games to get there, but nonetheless, we've got 2 in a row with Port beating Richmond. I think a lot of people expected Port to win this one, considering their form. Port have been really, really good so far, and they keep it up with a 10-point win over Richmond. And then the third expected result of the week with Collingwood beating North Melbourne only by 35. It did look a little close towards the end. I didn't really think that North would topple them at any point, but a solid outing from North Melbourne, especially against the top side in Collingwood. I'm not mad at the result at all. I'm actually quite happy with it, so I'm hopeful that North can keep fighting and potentially put up a good performance for me when they play against Essendon this week even. I'm going to that game and I'm really keen to watch it. But lastly, for the week, Adelaide beating Brisbane at what looks to be the new GMHBA Stadium, as Adelaide looks so dominant when they're playing at home, man. The crowd wills them. It's an amazing time to be an Adelaide football fan right now, with both Adelaide and Port Adelaide really showing signs of life. They've got a lot of talent over in South Australia, and it's looking exciting as they take down a really talented Brisbane side. Man, what a week though. What a week for footy. This was an awesome week. I'm really, really keen to see what you guys think of everything coming up this week. Maybe we'll see some more expected results as you see here. This is who we've got. We've got a few games taken away. Obviously, we're hitting the bye rounds now. Everyone getting a week of rest here and there. Glad that North is still playing, so I'll get to go and watch them. Last game for the week, really cool. A little less action in the footy week is always a little disappointing, but it's good that we're back and Adam coming into the next week, and hopefully we can have some good results. But nonetheless, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen right now. I actually don't know what this video is, but it is what YouTube recommends to you if you have been watching my videos. So if you do enjoy this one, then I highly recommend clicking the one on the screen right now. Like the video as well that you are watching, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.